Hey everybody, welcome back to Q&A Wednesday, where I answer the questions that I get. Well, mostly I hear a lot of, but so I forgot to close my drawer there. So we're answering questions that you might have about your health and fitness goals. Want to make sure that you understand how biology really works. Okay, I feel really, really short right now. Let's see if I can't fix that right there. So today's topic, we're going to talk a little bit about why it's important to actually eat enough food. And so I get that a lot when I tell people as we're going through their meal plans and what they normally eat. I'm like, okay, part of your problem is you just don't eat enough. And so, there's this huge misconception that if you want to lose weight, you need to eat 1,200 calories or less, which is basically starving, and that's what's going to do it for you. But that's so wrong. If you look at the human biology and what your body wants to do, it has to be able to survive and it has to have enough energy. And so there's a couple things that you need to think about, whether you are 100 pounds overweight or even 10 pounds overweight. There's some really important things that you have to think about when it comes to weight loss. Now, of course, you know me, and I'm going to tell you like it is. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is I don't believe in weight loss. I believe in fat loss. And there is a huge difference to that, because I could lose 20 pounds really easy, but it's going to all be muscle. So you have to be really careful about what you're talking about, because muscle is actually a natural fat burner. And if you lose all your muscle, you actually drop your metabolism right there. So, huge bonus to having some muscle. Now, you don't have to have as much as I do. I mean, that's a choice. But, it's really important to make sure that you are looking at the right things and making sure that your body gets what it needs. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So let's talk really quickly about, about 2 years ago, I wrote an ebook. Yeah, I did. It's on Amazon. You can look it up, called 1,200 Calorie Diets and Other BS. Yeah, I spelled out the other word, but that's okay. And really it just talks about the downside to what all of these diets provide. The biggest issue with diets is that you're usually depriving yourself and sacrificing in order to get where you need to go. And the problem with that is that first of all, I understand that we eat food. That is part of how we live, right? And food is different things to different people. It is social. It is, there's traditions. There's some great things behind that. The problem is that when we don't look at food for what it is, which is energy, and in order to feed our body, we have to have nutrients, right? So, when you talk about empty calories, there is something behind that. When you're getting empty calories, that means there's literally no nutrition behind it, right? It's just usually it's just junk, right? Processed food, ultra processed food. And so the problem is that, while you might be giving your body energy, you're not giving your body the nutrients. Now, when I'm talking about nutrients, I'm talking about vitamins, minerals. Your body has to have enough of each of those things in order to function optimally, right? And then people don't understand why they don't ever feel good. They don't have enough energy. They've, basically drained their adrenals. What's going on? Well, you're not providing your body with what it really needs, which is nutrients. So that's part of it. But the big deal with the 1,200 calories is that you understand that designation was originally designed to tell people how much a human adult should minimally be eating to not have symptoms of starvation. And the problem is your body does not know the difference between a diet and starvation. It just assumes you're starving. So it will actually do things to help try and buffer that, or to counter, undo that, which is, it's going to make you crave food. It's going to make you grouchy. It's going to make you hungry. It doesn't want you. Your body is designed to do two things, and you don't even realize it's doing it. But those two things are, it wants you to survive, and it wants to avoid pain. So it's going to secrete those hormones that tell your body, I need energy. I need input. And so part of the problem there is that you've got to give your body the right amount of food. Now we're going to talk about quality in just a minute, guys. So I know you're all thinking, what? I'm supposed to eat more pizza? No, that is not what I said. Hi, Olivia. You have to be eating the right things, but you can't starve your body, or it will fight you every step of the way. So for anyone who's yo-yo dieted or tried some ridiculous, ideal protein where you're eating 500 ridiculous calories, guys, can I just tell you, doctors have my respect, but they don't get enough nutrition education to be running that kind of garbage. I don't believe in it. I don't think it's healthy. And anybody who's tried it, you tell me how long they lasted on it before they went back to normal calories and then gained it all back plus some. I find it absolutely unacceptable. So we talk about the fact that your body just does not know that you're trying to be on a diet. So you have to do it in a way that is healthy to you. So let's talk really quickly about the fact that I like to tell my clients, because it makes sense, right? The smaller the car, the smaller the gas tank. If you have 50 pounds to lose and you start with 1,200 calories, where are you going to go when you drop 10 pounds, right? You have to walk yourself down. You have to figure out it is a little bit of energy in, energy out to an extent. That's not enough information. There's more details than that. So you can't just rely on, well, I had 2,000 calories of carbohydrates today, so I should be fine because I burned 2,400. Your body treats the different macronutrients differently. So you can't compare 2,000 calories of carbohydrates to 2,000 calories of fat or protein. They don't react the same within your system. So there's just too much more to look at than that. But if you think about the fact that if you're trying to walk down, you have to eat enough to support that metabolism. Otherwise, your metabolism is going to drop. You're going to be hungry, starving all the time, and you have nowhere to go. So people who usually plateau, the biggest issue is you didn't start high enough to begin with, so you have nowhere to go down, right? If you think about like a Ford pickup, big one that has like 2 tanks, it holds a lot of fuel. If you're bigger, when I was 210 pounds, I was eating 2,400 calories a day and losing weight, right? Because I was burning like 28 or 2,900 as a bigger person. Now that I'm, 130 pounds, it's a little bit different ball game. However, I have a lot more muscle, so I still have to support that by eating enough nutrients, or my body will actually burn my muscle for fuel. And I don't want to do that. So again, you have to kind of know what's going on. So let's talk about the calorie part of it. Calories do matter, but as I just said, it doesn't matter as much as what macros you're talking about, and it also does not matter as much as quality of those macros. So there's a big difference between eating an apple and eating a Pop-Tart, right? They're both simple sugars, both of them, but they're obviously not the same nutrients. And even though the Pop-Tart might have some enriched fortified nutrients, yeah, that's synthetic, guys. Your body doesn't break it down the same. It's still got a lot of sugar. It's ultra processed, and as soon as it hits your system, it's already processed enough. Your body doesn't have to do much to break it down. So that sugar is going to hit your bloodstream immediately, versus the apple has vitamins, minerals, fiber, which slows down the absorption rate of those sugars into your system. It takes a little bit longer for your body to digest that. It does have to heat up a little hotter to break it down. It's a thermogenic process. So you can't compare, they're just not the same product. So quality matters. The other thing is the different macronutrients do different things. So part of the problem is think about it, if you feed your body enough carbohydrates, because what do carbohydrates do? They're an energy source, right? That's all they do. They're an energy source. Can't speak today. If you provide your body with all the energy it needs through carbohydrates, why would your body burn fat for fuel? It won't. It won't burn fat for fuel. However, if you cut the carbohydrates, now I'm not saying no carbohydrates. I'm not a huge fan of keto. It's an option. And if you're really struggling to burn some fat and you are insulin, I can't even think of the word today. You've lost your insulin sensitivity. Resistant, thank you. If you're insulin resistant, if you have a more sensitive reaction to carbohydrates, you might need to severely restrict your carbohydrates in order to burn off some of your adipose tissue, your fat storage. However, if you feed your body enough fat, which by the way, your cells are made up of lipids, then your body learns to burn fat as fuel. So you really have to look at the formula. The formula depends on a couple of things. You can't just email me and say, Melissa, what should I be doing? We have to talk goals here. We have to talk genetics. There's so many more variables we have to talk about. But just know that the formula changes dependent upon what your goals are, how big you are you a man or a woman, how old are you? There's really a lot of things to actually look at when you are choosing what your formula is, what your combination or percentages of macros are. I know that sounds really complicated. It really isn't. That's why, I like to do that on an individual basis to really kind of focus on what people want to accomplish there. The other benefit of eating more. Now, let's back up really quickly and talk about the fact that I'm not talking about eating more crap, right? You know that I don't agree with, and I'm not saying you have to cut out everything that you love, because if I had to cut out chocolate, we'd be in a world of hurt, right? But if you cut out the garbage, you add more nutritious, healthy food. And again, don't go off of myplate.gov. It's just BS, but topic for another day. Healthy food. Eat enough protein. Your body needs it in order to build and maintain muscle. Eat enough healthy fats. Eat the right combination of the right foods. You're going to it's going to be more volume. When I work with, especially my male clients who have obviously been, especially if they've been eating a lot of pizza, drinking a lot of beer, and then all of a sudden we're talking about 2,600 calories of healthy food. They're like, That's a lot of freaking food. Of course, volume, yeah, it is, because it's so much less in the way of calories that you're eating versus you eat half a pizza, you've eaten a day's worth of calories all in one fell swoop. Then add to that some beer and shut down your metabolism. Now you're in big trouble, right? So again, it's you got to look at it how biology really works and not the garbage that you hear, from somebody's sister's whatever that doesn't look like they know what they're talking about. So couple of tips for you, right? Now, if you have a Fitbit, that's a great option. You can kind of tell about how many calories you're burning. However, that's not going to tell you how much of each of the macronutrients to eat. You really need to visit with someone who is an expert in nutrition, has a little more information. And while I am not quite yet a registered dietitian, I am working towards that right now. I can still coach you on the right direction to go and how to look at food. It's more about the education of it than just telling people what to do, because I find that people stick with it better if they know why. So here's some tips. Number one, you gotta cut back on the processed food. I know it's so readily available, and the part of the problem too is that we always think that, well, it says healthy on there, or it says non-GMO, or it says organic. Yeah, a lot of times that means absolutely nothing, because maybe that product, of course, isn't GMO because it never was GMO. Or maybe it's organic because of the way that it's grown. It's never been a problem. A lot of times they use this advertising that makes zero sense or makes it sound healthy, and they're just following loopholes, or there's just so much more to it. So if it is shelf stable, if it is somewhere in the center of the grocery store versus along the outskirts, the perimeter, it's probably not a healthy food. Probably not a healthy food. Keep that in mind. Somebody told me once, if you can't grow it or kill it, you probably shouldn't be putting it in your body. Yeah, that sounds pretty fair as well. So again, processed and ultra processed food is a huge problem, especially here in the United States, just because it's so readily available. It tastes good, right? It's hyper palatable, so we all want to eat it because it tastes amazing. It's designed that way, guys. But the problem is that it's not providing us the nutrients that we really need, and of course we become addicted to it. We like how that feels when that sugar rush comes into our system. And even if it's not a sugar product, take for instance white bread. I've had people say, well, I don't like sugar, but I really like bread. And I'm like, what do you think that hits your bloodstream immediately as? Sugar, right? It's a carbohydrate. It turns immediately to sugar in your system. So be careful when you're eating a really huge portion of your diet in carbohydrates, because it's, especially the processed ones, because it's going to spike your insulin, which tells your body to store, and it can become a huge problem. Think about the metabolic syndrome, all the issues that happen to come from obesity. And again, fat doesn't cause fat, guys. It's the insulin tells your body to store, which causes all the problems. So we're talking diabetes, heart disease, all those issues come from eating way too many processed foods and carbohydrates. It's a big issue. The other thing is to be careful. You're not going to be able to drink alcohol daily and get away with it for too long. Part of that problem is it shuts down your metabolism, because your body actually has to deal first with the alcohol. And so it can't burn fat at the same time. And depending on how much you drink, if you drink a beer on a daily basis or a glass of wine or two every night, you're pretty much guaranteeing your body is not burning fat, because it can't. It can't metabolically do both at the same time. So save alcohol for special occasions. I'm not saying never drink it, just instead of drinking it every day, save it for a special occasion, your anniversary, a wedding, New Year's, whatever. I don't care. Vegas maybe. But don't drink it on a daily basis. And again, remember that although you eat food, your body needs nutrients. So if you have any questions on this, absolutely ask me. The whole goal of this is just to educate you better, since nobody's trying to teach it. Well, there's a few people, but they don't teach it in school. Definitely our government doesn't teach us the right stuff. It's really based on a lot of information from a long time ago that was biased and incorrect. If you look at the epidemiology, the past historical situations in different countries, we can learn a lot about how our bodies really work. So I find that fascinating. But anyway, if you have any ideas, have any questions, if you have a comment you want to spring on us, whatever, you can either leave a comment below, or you can message me directly at Facebook Messenger. I answer almost everything. Unless you're being creepy, I totally answer questions, because this is my jam. I find nutrition fascinating. That's why I'm going back to school to get my master's. That, and I think I'm crazy. But I find it fascinating. Never once in my life did I think that science would be my gig. So yeah, I'm on it. And if you have a question that you'd like us to answer here on Q&A Wednesday, please ask. I get my best ideas from you guys. So until next week, have an incredible night. That's Q&A Wednesday. Bye, guys.